Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Metro Exodus Sam Story DLC, a Man of Principle trophy walkthrough, and this is episode 7, which I have named Batwing Round 2. And before you go over that crushed car and into the second encounter with the Batwing, make sure that it is daytime, because I'm going to talk about that you do not want to fight him during nighttime. And make sure to equip your best equipment. Basically, make sure to put the burst system in your Sammy rifle. And if you want to, you can use incendiary rounds. I would recommend that you don't, because I don't think you need them. But if you're struggling with this fight, feel free to use them. But make sure to stock up on all kinds of ammo before you go into this arena, because you will hear him roaring as soon as you get in here. And don't linger too far back, I think. No, up front. My bad. Because you see him turn over a stack of crushed old cars. That is something he will do throughout this fight. I think he does it 3 or 4 times, which will shrink this arena, and he will start here at the back end of the arena. I will refer to this end where I just came from as the back end and the other end as the front end. But this fight, I talked about in episode 1 that the first encounter is the hardest one, and I would definitely say that that is true. Because here you have a bigger arena and you have a lot more resources. If you have done some preparations before you go into this fight, this should not present too much problems. And also those little swarms of bats he sends towards you. You see there, he flips over some cars, makes the arena a little bit smaller, and it will get more and more cramped as this fight goes on. But he sends those little swarms of bats towards you, and as soon as they start flying towards you, they are on a set path. So if you can't get in behind cover, you can actually just run to the side and get through their line of movement, or whatever you want to call it. Because they will fly straight forward, they will not rear off if you move out of the way. And other than that, this is just like the first encounter, with the big difference that, as I said, you have a lot more resources. 2 Natas will jump into the fight, or I think it's even 3. Just make quick work of them, and then he will flip over another stack of cars. So now the arena is even smaller. But this fight, I think, is actually the easiest encounter in the game. He does become a little bit more aggressive, but as long as you stay aggressive towards him, and also sometimes when you're in these little cooldown periods in between his attacks when he sends in the swarms, if you go in behind cover, that is a great time to stock up on medkits if you feel that you're running low. Because this fight, I think, when you're playing this on normal difficulty like I am doing, that is the minimum difficulty you have to play through it on to be able to unlock the Untouchable trophy, getting through all 3 of these encounters without dying. Then you can take, I think it's 2 hits before you die. The 3rd hit will kill you. And when he is moved away, as you can see, sometimes you will see those swarms of bats come up in the air and fly over your head. That is your cue where he will show up, because they will surround him. So if you're a bit unsure where he is, and I felt I was getting low on medkits, so I made quick work to do 2 more. And also, as I said, if you feel that this is getting out of control, feel free to load up with the incendiary rounds. You will get supplies enough to make more after this fight is over. But I always like to be conservative with my ammo. If I feel confident in being able to take him down without them, I try to do so. But it will make the fight faster. And that is the last stack of cars he will tip over. And as you can see, I think if one of those stacks fall on top of you, it will actually kill you. But it's so telegraphed, so you shouldn't ever even come close to being killed. And if you're playing this on PlayStation, I would absolutely recommend, if you have PlayStation Plus, make sure to upload your save prior to this fight. Because if you die then, you can just re-download your save and try again. And that will not lock the trophy. But if you die and reload your save without downloading it from PlayStation Plus, then the trophy will be locked. But that was the end of the fight. You go into a rather lengthy cutscene that I trimmed out. And Tom contacts you that there is a rainstorm coming in, and there was also one when we took over that big house, the last fight we were in the previous episode. And I'm not quite sure what that rain does, if it actually hurts you. And in this building is... In the last episode, towards the beginning of the last episode, we talked to a guy that said his brother had swindled him out of their car dealership. Well, this is brother number 2. And just like the first brother, he will talk your ears off. So I trimmed out that entire sequence. And he gives you the second part of the combination to the safe. You know, brother 1, he had the first half of the combination, which was 1, 2, 3, 4. And this brother has the second part of the combination, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Real brainiacs. And we are gonna go into this building and open the safe and get out the ownership papers. And that is where the game glitched for me. And it's super weird. Because when we go into this building, there are no enemies in here. So you can go through this building quite fast. But on my first playthrough, I went in, I picked up, where I opened a safe, I picked up the ownership papers, and when I came out this window, they came walking down together, down that little path, and went into that garage and sat down by the table, and we took a look at the ownership papers to see who really owned the business and who had swindled who. I'm not gonna tell you how it plays out. I don't want to spoil that for you. You're gonna have to find out for yourselves. But it is a bit fun. But in this playthrough, on my recording run, of course, that is something I have mentioned numerous times before, that whenever I sit down to record, it can be of a game that I've played through lots of times. But whenever I plug in my game capture card and decide to create a new walkthrough, or create a new walkthrough basically, of course shit happens that has never happened before. And that is things I have talked about through think through most of my projects. I'm not gonna say all of them, but in almost all of them I have always encountered shit that has never ever happened before. And some of these games that I have covered on my channel thus far are games that I have played through maybe 10 plus times.
Okay, this I could definitely use.
Before recording. And it's quite interesting sometimes, or 1 or 2 times it has led to little bonus videos. I made a little bonus video of Uncharted 2, the temple level, which I cannot remember for the life of me. Where I, by the way, this is the safe, and there we have the ownership papers.
The brothers asked for.
It happened to me in Uncharted 2, as I said, I lost my train of thought, that I was hiding behind a cover and suddenly the screen went black and it teleported me a few meters away in behind another cover. If you go into videos, on my channel and scroll down, you will find that video. It's super weird, because that is a game that I most definitely have played through 10 plus times. Has never happened before, never happened since. You see a little glitch there. That's because I trimmed out. I ran back and forth in between these two brothers trying to see if there was something I had forgotten to trigger. But when I talked to them, they were just like, oh, you're gonna fetch the papers. So I don't know, the game glitched out. But hopefully for you, when you come out that window, you will meet both of the brothers and you will solve the riddle about who swindled who. But now we're gonna go across this big open area, and you see there are those gopher-like mutants out here, and I fucking hate these mutants. Because they are small, they are quick, and they are aggressive as fuck. They are, I'm not gonna say fearless little fuckers, because they are quite cowardly. They love to run away and flank you and sneak up and be super quick and super annoying, and they can actually kill you quicker than you would expect for being so small. But getting across this area can be a bit of a chore in itself, because this place is one big ass fucking minefield, and I suggest proceed with caution. Because as you all know by now, if you have followed this walkthrough, I mention it lots of times, you probably think that I'm starting to repeat myself a lot. And I'm sorry about that, but it's worth mentioning if someone is just tuning in, haven't watched the other videos. But mines kill you instantly, even if you're at full health and you accidentally trigger them. It is an instant kill state. So what you want to do is crouch and proceed with caution. Always keep an eye on your universal detector. You see it blinking there? Every one of those red dots is a mine. And I think it's quite interesting with these mines, even though they are almost always lying out in plain sight. I at least can sometimes find it really hard to spot them. I don't know why. Because I have, I'm not gonna say a huge TV, but a decently sized TV. And they blend into the background surprisingly well. And it's worth disarming them, because you get 4 chemicals and 2 mechanical resources for each. And as long as they're not super much out of your path, it's worth taking the time so you don't accidentally maybe run into one of these giant prawns and want to run back because it's overwhelming you or something, and you accidentally run into a mine. But I think that is the last one of them. And now I'm just gonna do a suicide run past these 2 prawns. Because any fight that you don't have to engage in, I like to avoid, and prawns can be a fucking pain to take down. Because their faces are their weak spot. As far as is the conclusion I have gotten to. But they like to hold up their claws to cover their face, and since they are more or less mutated crawfish, they have an exoskeleton. And they use that as armor. I would guess that it is quite thick, having been radiated for so many years. So if you're gonna take them down, make sure to try to hit them in the face. And here is a booby trap, so make sure you don't trip over that one. That would be unpleasant. And now we're going into a base where we're also gonna pick up another Night Hunter stash. And I think, I'm not gonna swear, but that might be the second to last one. I'm not 100% sure there is 1 or 2 left after this one. The one we will be getting in here. But I think it's second to last one. So we should have opened 6 by now. I find it a bit embarrassing that I haven't counted that yet. But if you follow this walkthrough, you will get all 8 of them. Either way. And you saw there was a chair where you can sleep if you want to switch over to nighttime or daytime. I just go in here at daytime because it's easier to see. You don't have to use your flashlight, which can give you away to enemies. And this is also something interesting. They have some cans on string right there, which is a good thing. I recognize that fact. And they also have lots of them in here. And riddle me this. This is also something I would love to hear your input on. And I realized that I've run past the stash, so we're gonna backtrack a little bit. But if you were an intruder in this base, let's just ponder that idea a little bit. If you were an intruder going into this base and you saw that first can on a string hanging in the doorway, wouldn't you be alerted enough to make sure that these guys are probably quite cautious and there's probably more hanging in here? It's not like you cut down the first one and then just go completely berserk and run past or run straight into the second or third or 8th one. Feels a little bit exaggerated to have that many, but I shouldn't complain because they are, when you disarm them or whatever you want to call it, cut them down, you get mechanical resources, and you can also throw cans to use as decoys, which is something I've never done in this game actually. I don't know how effective it is. Maybe it's something you could use to go a more stealthy approach in some of these instances. But I don't like, especially not when I'm making a walkthrough, I try to use strategies that I can use as consistently as possible. And there is a certain dynamic to the enemy placement in this game. That is something I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, that they are not always 100% consistent in their patrol patterns. But thankfully, the gameplay or the fighting mechanics in this game aren't too hard. In none of the Metro games actually. There are some instances in, especially in Metro Last Light, there is one part that I still, after having played through that game so many times, I still think can be a fucking bitch to get through. This, by the way, is the only tricky room. I got a little bit lucky with these guys. On my first playthrough, they were standing in the room talking to each other. But now, since they had their back turned towards each other, I could just shoot down the first one and then take out his friend. There are, I think, around 7 or 8 bandits in this entire base, which isn't super much. But whenever you have the chance of doing the stealthy approach, I think you always should try to do so because it feels so empowering. And it also makes things easier. Of course, always try to go for the easier option. And here we have another guard that would just clock with our suppressed pistol. The suppressed pistol is great to use when enemies aren't aware of your presence and if you can get consistent headshots. Because you saw that second guard in there. I took out the first guard with a headshot. Everything went super smooth. But his friend that was looking out the window, took like 6 bullets to the back. The second guy in here. Because this gun isn't very powerful. It's only good whenever, as I said, you can do headshots and stay stealthy with it. And there is this guy down here, so we use a knife on him so we don't waste our ammo. And something that is I had to do some trimming in this video, which you will see. Because that guy that I shot through the window who was standing outside, another guard is gonna notice him being dead. And he gets a little bit alerted. He doesn't get alerted enough for the guards to start searching, but he gets a little bit anxious. And I was running around like a twat for 5 minutes, I think, searching for him. And the location where he is actually up to my right, straight up. That building straight in front of me, up there on the roof, is a sniper. And he hasn't become aware of this corpse yet. But just so you know, and there are 2 guards over there by the dock, I think. And we are here to snag a boat so we can go on our next part of getting to the hazmat suits. And here we see our good old friend, the Night Hunter symbol. So we're gonna go in here, and there is a little puzzle to open this chamber. And you open this chamber by switching these switches in the right sequence. And right one is left to right, 3, 1, 2. And I found this out by looking up on the internet. On my first playthrough, I was running around here. I was trying every combination I could find, but I couldn't figure it out. There probably is some kind of note or something you can read to get the combination, but I, for the life of me, couldn't find it. And here we also have the healing vest, which I think allows you to carry more medkits, but since we can make medkits on the fly, I don't think that is very necessary to have. The ammo pouches vest is by far, in my opinion, the absolute best vest you can have. And I don't know if you can hear it, but now he has noticed the corpse and he's starting to get anxious. And you may have seen in the previous room that there is a ladder, a yellow ladder on the wall. That is how you get up to that sniper. But now I'm gonna trim out about... Yes, now he noticed him. So he's getting anxious, but he's not sure what happened. And I don't want you to have to see me running around like an idiot for 5 minutes. So that's why we have an edit right about here, I think. Yes. And then finally I found him. So just clock him in the head. Once again with an incendiary round. You can use the pistol because after he goes down, if you have taken out the same guards as I have, there should only be... I think there are 2 guys left after you take him out. And going up the ladder to where he was is a great vantage point to take out the last 2 enemies. And also, I think his rifle has quite a few nice upgrades. Either way, there is some loot up here. Yes. But that is a weapon called... I can't remember what it's called. It's called like the Bulldog, Bullpup, or something like that. Not entirely sure. But... that is a sniper rifle that I will only be using once throughout this walkthrough. You can trade out... If you're gonna trade out any weapon for it, I would suggest the pistol actually. Because as I said, the pistol is only effective when you are alone. Or when you're alone. When you are in stealth mode. And I told a lie, I realized. There was one guy left after him. And he has surrendered. He yelled that I give up, please don't kill me. Here we have him. So we are just gonna knock him out, because I believe in being merciful and not killing the ones that have already given up. And that is something from the main game, I think. Actually, that is a leftover that I think that counted towards your karma. But the last thing we're gonna do in this place before we head out is pull this lever, which will open the gate so we can head onwards and go into the next episode. But before that, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.